right, let's go on to the next slide. Discrimination. So discrimination is the unfair treatment of others based on their group membership. Okay? And again, Dr. Jones says that discrimination can be negative or positive behaviors towards a person. So that's discrimination, and it has to do with an attitude. It has to do with a behavior, okay? So we discussed stereotypes that were cognition. We discussed prejudice, which is actually like a behavior and an attitude. And now we're dealing with discrimination, which again is behavior, okay? It's not cognitive. It's not something that's helping us get relief and be able to process things. This is actually an action that we do. It's something that we do that's different. And so in our country, when you are discriminated against in the workplace, you have to show that the exact same thing that you're doing, let's say that you're being late to work every day and you have a counterpart that's of a different ethnicity, different religion, a different gender, is being late to work every day. And those are the two constants and everything else is the same. And you have been fired from your job. You may be able to go and say, hey, I've been discriminated against, and it's based, specifically on A, B, or C. Okay, it's a behavior. Let's go on to the next slide. I should have asked the question, can anyone be discriminate? And the answer is yes, anyone can discriminate. So now we're on to racism. So what is racism? Webster defines racism as the belief that some races are by nature superior to others, and it includes discrimination based on such a belief, okay? So now you have this belief that someone is better than another person, and because of that, you discriminate against them. You may actually stereotype them. You may also demonstrate prejudices against them. So although we're using words to describe another word, you can actually kind of use or perform any of these behaviors if you are unfortunately being involved in a racist act or being racist, okay? So I think I have 2 or 3 other definitions, so let's go on to the next one. Hopefully the slides are going to work right this time. Hold on, here we go. There it is. Race accounts for differences in human character or ability. Particular race is superior to others, and again, it's discrimination or prejudice. It's behaviors based on a particular race, specifically a race. Okay, so you see discrimination's in there, prejudice is in there, and the only thing that you're doing, reason that you're acting this way, or that you're the word's slipping my mind, but that you're showing these behaviors is because there's someone of a different race. Okay, got one more, I believe. Let's go to it. Next slide. Prejudice, that members of one race are intrinsically superior to members of another race, or discriminative or abusive behavior towards members of another race. So there we go again with discriminative, discrimination, or abusive. So that's not cool at all. That's definitely, a behavior to act out. Some people were asking me about the recent or more recent acts of nooses being left on persons of color's door, and why weren't folks being arrested and things of that nature. Actually, in our country, it does not fall under a hate crime or a race crime, because it has to be something that's actually physically done against someone in order for there to be a crime committed. So just doing something of that nature may show racist behaviors, but actually cannot be illegal. So racism actually is not an illegal situation unless it becomes physical, which is interesting. We may have to talk about that. All right, let's go on to the next slide. So when most people generally think of racism, they think of 4 of the following. Resides in individual acts of discrimination against others, associated with overt, dramatic hate crimes perpetrated against persons of color, does not exist in good, decent, and moral individuals, and consequently, we personally are not racist, nor do we engage in such acts. And Sue 2005 came up with these points and kind of found that this is what people say about themselves. Let's go on to the next slide. Kind of going fast here, huh? Yeah, I'm on a time constraint. We're moving along. Definitions of racism. Can anyone be racist? So this is a little bit controversial, but I will go ahead and tell you that the only persons who can be racist are those who are a part of the majority structure. So I have several concepts or ideas I want to give you all. So in this country, by definition, honestly, only Caucasian persons can be racist because they are the majority power structure in this country. If you do not have power in where you reside or where you live, you cannot be racist. You cannot do that. On the other hand, some people have asked me about reverse racism and is there such thing? Well, I say yes, and I'll give you an example. I attended a historically black college or university, also known as an HBCU. If you all saw A Different World back in the 80s and early 90s, that was my undergraduate college experience, okay? And so at my institution, there was a very small minority group of Caucasian professors and even a smaller minority group of Caucasian students. Actually, I think we had about 1% of Caucasian students. Very, very small. Out of 5,000 students, 1%, so you can do the math, right? So my professor, my undergraduate psychology professor, my mentor to this day was of Caucasian descent, and she would discuss and talk about the reverse racism that she experienced at my university. So is that possible? She lived in America. As soon as she left the campus of Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia, she was back among the majority persons. Was she able to actually experience racism? I say yes, because among her peers and at her place of work, the majority structure were African American people. The president, the provost, the vice president, the academic advisors, the deans of her college were all of African descent. They were all African American. And she was the minority group. The power structure that was set up there was, yes, of majority African American people. So, yes, she definitely experienced reversed racism, unfortunately, and fought hard for tenureship and other promotions and things of that nature due to her race. Am I proud of that? No. Is it something that should happen just because African Americans have been discriminated against, have experienced racism in their lives? No, but it is the way of the world, unfortunately. So what are we going to do to change that? What can you do to do something a little bit different and say, you know what, it may be in my surroundings, it may be a truism, but I'm going to do my part to stop it. And that's what I've attempted to do in my life, not just through education, but making conscious decisions to accept people for who they are, what they are, not what they look like or how they dress. And sometimes it's difficult. Again, if you go back to stereotyping, which we'll go through the terms again, when you go back to stereotyping, it's like so easy to categorize people so that we don't have this cognitive load. But at the same time, we have a responsibility and I don't know, it's just love and it's truth, and it's okay to accept others, and it's okay to admit when you're wrong and when you don't know. So anyway, let's go back again to racism. Can anyone be a racist? Actually, it depends on the power structure that's involved. And so if the power structure of whatever ethnic group is involved, that's who can be racist. And then the others, unfortunately, are victims of that type of unfortunate behavior. So let's go on to the next, and I think the final slide. We might have one more. Here we go. Whoopsie, wrong button. Here we go. Summary of terms. So stereotypes, again, it's a cognitive situation. You want to have cognitive relief, okay? Prejudice is an attitude. It's cognition and emotion. Discrimination is behavioral. Remember that. It's a behavior. And racism, again, is a behavior. So those are the kind of psychological terms that go along with it. You should have gone through some type of behavioral class, I hope, some type of cognitive class. And if not, if this is your first introduction, then welcome to these terms. I hope that I've made things simpler and kind of categorized, for the lack of a better word, those different terms. I think that that's our last slide. Let's look one more time. And if so, then I'll say goodbye, but let me look real quick. Is that the last one? Yep, that's all we have for today. So thank you all so very much for your time. You know, if you have questions, you can go to Ask the Prof, or you can email me, whatever. I am me. I love to chat with people. And I just appreciate all you all for just being so great and so gracious and so willing to be a part of my class. It's been a joy, and I look forward to weeks and weeks and weeks to come. Have a great one. Bye-bye.